Good afternoon. I'm Tracy Sinclair, coming back on here as we wait for a press conference being sponsored by or hosted by the City of Nome. They are expected to begin here in just a few minutes. The intent is to talk about, of course, that fatal crash, that commuter flight flying from Unalakleet to Nome. We have not heard the extent of what this press conference will be about, but we do expect them to begin here in just a moment, and we will bring that to you live as we have it. And this is Tracy Sinclair. As I said, we are getting ready for this press conference, and it looks like they are beginning to begin.
City Manager for the City of Nome. At today's press conference, you'll hear from our Mayor, John Handelin, City of Nome, U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski, Incident Command Center's James West Jr., Fire Chief, Daniel Sem, Nome Volunteer Fire Department Public Information Officer, Clint Johnson, Alaska Region Chief of the National Transportation Safety Board, Michael Salerno of the United States Coast Guard District 17 Public Affairs Officer, variety trainer from North South Health Corporation's Behavioral Health Services Center. I'd like to recognize those who have joined us on the call, including our Governor, Mike Dunleavy, who I know has been watching this incident from afar. I want to also thank Colonel Todd Miller of the Alaska National Guard, who is also joining us via Zoom. We also have members of the media. I'd like to remind the participants to mute your phones and pause your video. For our speakers, once you hear their introduction, you can unmute yourself and turn on your video. If you are a member of the press and have a question, please put your name in the chat. We will take questions at the end of the press conference. Same thing, you will unmute yourself when your name is called. I'd like to start by introducing Mayor John Handelin.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you all for joining us today. On behalf of our community, our region, state, we've been united the last day and a half. Hope in our hearts that a plane overdue landing in Nome would be found quickly. Nome Volunteer Search and Rescue immediately spooled up emergency operations upon receiving the report, and a ground search was conducted while light and weather permitted. National Guard military personnel and their air assets were dispatched from Kodiak and J-Bear and arrived to join in the effort. The narrative for today's press conference has changed a bit, as earlier this afternoon, the U.S. Coast Guard discovered wreckage of an aircraft matching the description of the overdue Bering Air Flight 445 traveling from Unalakleet to Nome. Sadly, there does not appear to be any survivors. On behalf of my fellow Nomites, I extend our collective condolences and support to the families and loved ones of the passengers and pilot, and others in our Big Alaska family are also impacted by this tragic occurrence. Our hearts are with you, and it is sad, and we're sad with you in this difficult time. I know the community here in Nome and across Alaska has been watching this incident closely. We're all hoping and praying for different news today. I'd also like to extend our heartfelt condolences to everybody out at Bering Air. You don't treat your employees as much as an employee, but rather as your family members. I know you're all grieving in a big way for your pilot and every one of your passengers that was lost. We care for others. We care for you. The City of Nome Incident Command Center will remain open with search and rescue volunteers in active status as we continue to work closely with our search and rescue partners on what now will refocus resources to recovery efforts to bring our loved ones home. Today, you will hear from some of those partners. And before I turn this over to them, I want to share the City of Nome's gratitude to our partners from the U.S. Coast Guard, the Alaska National Guard, the Alaska State Troopers, North and Sound Health Corporation, as well as the NTSB, which had representatives arrive here this morning. Thank you for the quick response and for the personnel and equipment resources that you made available for this effort. It truly takes a village. Routine calls from Governor Dunleavy, Senator Murkowski, and Senators Sullivan have been following it closely, as have Congressman Young and our representatives in Juneau. And we appreciate the support that they have offered to us in this endeavor. I also want to extend special recognition and appreciation to the Nome Volunteer Fire Department crews who have again, now as they have in the past, led local search efforts, often putting themselves at personal risk, and for keeping the community informed. Nome is a strong community, and in challenging times, we come together and support each other. I expect the outpouring of support to continue in the coming days as we all work to recover from this tragic incident. I encourage community members that wish to join us. There's a prayer service tonight at Old St. Joe's at 7 p.m. And I just ask that you comfort those who mourn, who are devastated and overwhelmed. While we can't turn back time, please give us all the needed strength to use each moment we have in the future very wisely. Hug your people tonight, tightly and often.
Thank you, Mayor Handlin. I'd like to pull Senator Murkowski on the screen, introduce Alaska's U.S. Senior Senator. Logan, can you confirm that you can hear us?
Can you hear me, Megan?
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm in a car traveling through mountains and it's been bad connection. I'm glad that I'm able to see you and to share my heartfelt prayers for all. This has been a dark and a sad many hours, and know that we are grieving with the entire community. I want to acknowledge, as Mayor Handlin has the efforts of so many there in Nome, as all have come together as a family to search for those that we have lost. It is everyone from the Coast Guard to our Guard to our emergency responders there with the Nome Fire Department to our Alaska State Troopers. And we are now in prayers that the loved ones will be brought home to their families. But words really can't express the loss that we're all feeling at this point in time. We're all connected in so many ways, and many of you know that I feel part of the the Bering Air family myself. I feel part of the Nome community. And so as we're listening to the words from the agencies that are involved with this effort, it's hard to accept the reality of our loss, but know that we are here to be with the families, be with the communities, both in Nome and Unalakleet. I know the people in Unalakleet are grieving as well. And so the resources that will be made available through family support assistance through the NTSB. I've been in contact with the head of the NTSB. She is on her way to Alaska in the morning. I've been in contact with the Secretary of Transportation, and he has assured me that as he begins his tenure, he's going to be looking to make sure that we have the resources as a state to do as best we can when it comes to the safety of those who are flying across our skies. So I wanted to just offer my words of condolence, my prayers to all who have suffered this loss, to the pilot, to the families, and again to the communities. So I hope to be up there with you soon, but thank you again to those who have come together at this very sad time. But with that, I turn it back to you, Megan, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Senator. Safe travels to yourself. Next, we have Michael Salerno with District 17, United States Coast Guard Public Affairs Officer. Michael, are you on the line?
Yes, online. Thank you very much. Updates. Yes, ma'am. Updates from this afternoon was the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard did locate the aircraft on the ice about 34 miles southeast of Nome. It was a Coast Guard MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter and an air crew. When the air crew located the wreckage, they lowered 2 rescue swimmers to investigate the scene. Those rescue swimmers are out on the ice. They were able to see inside the aircraft, and they saw 3 individuals who were unresponsive, without any signs of life. The remaining 7 people are believed to be on board, but due to the extent of the damage, the rest of the aircraft was inaccessible. But all 7 people are believed to be inside that wreckage, and unfortunately, of course, it does not appear to be a survivable crash. Our heartfelt condolences are with the families and the communities and everyone who's been affected by this terrible incident. And pending your questions, that is all I have to pass at the moment.
Thank you, Michael, for joining us. Next, we'll have the Chief Jim West of Nome's Incident Center Command. Accompanying him is Danielle Sem, who manages public relations for the Nome Volunteer Fire Department.
Good evening. Nome Volunteer Fire Department was actively engaged at 426 for a report of an overdue aircraft with 10 people on board. Due to weather conditions, fog and icing conditions, Bering Air had sent out a helicopter, but was turned around approximately 13 miles out due to icing conditions. So that left our initial search to be on the ground. We activated 15 of our search responders, canvass the shoreline and inland sources based on where the last known position of the aircraft was. We also had a White Mountain Search and Rescue crew, a team of 11 coming from the east to the west, and they ran into the same conditions, weather. The blowhole was bad, visibility about 50 feet. So that limited our efforts. We coordinated with the state and federal agencies to get resources out there to help us. We were assisted by the U.S. Coast Guard C-130 along with the U.S. Air Force C-130 that evening with infrared technology. From what was reported to me, they seen or found nothing. So with that, we went into the night to about 3:30. We spooled back up at 6 a.m. Weather had considerably improved. Bernier sent out 2 fixed-wing planes with spotters. We had the helo from the Coast Guard that had flown in along with another C-130, along with our ground crews from Nome and White Mountain, retracing there for recanvassing the areas since the visibility was a lot better. Once the plane was located, we then turned our focus to the recovery efforts, along with the Alaska Air National Guard. AST has been in communication with all family members that were on board. We would like to thank the many citizens, organizations, and our first responder crews from Nome and White Mountain and their families for their support through our efforts. Our hearts go out to the families who are all involved. I'll answer questions after that.
Thank you, Chief West. I'd also like to add a thanks to Guerric and Melanie Banky for providing the telecommunication support at Incident Command and the City of Nome. Next, we have the National Transportation Safety Board, Alaska Region Chief Clint Johnson. Are you on the Zoom?
I am here. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry we have to meet under these circumstances. I want to give you a little bit of an update as far as where we are at this point right now. Things have changed a little bit from our noon press release or presser that we had. To let you know, we were put into contact with on this incident early on yesterday, around 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we've been following it since then. We elected to go ahead and send one of our investigators from Anchorage here, Stacia Joyce. She had boots on the ground about 9 o'clock this morning. She's been in Nome and helping us out as far as real-time updates. At that point, obviously, up until noon or so, this was a search. In this case, the NTSB kind of takes a back seat and we just monitor. But unfortunately now, since the wreckage has been found and 10 fatalities, it's time for us to roll up our sleeves and go to work, unfortunately. Right now, it's my understanding that Stacia is on scene at the accident site with the Coast Guard. She's going to start her initial documentation of the site, trying to go ahead and document some of that perishable evidence. We also have quite a team that's headed from various locations around the United States here. We're going to have at least...
Sorry to interrupt. You had paused. I think Starlink was searching for a new connection.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
You had paused for a little while. If you don't mind restarting your last few statements.
Okay, sure. So presently, right now, we understand that Stacia Joyce, the NTSB investigator that we launched up there early this morning, is on scene with the Coast Guard. Her intent is to document the site to the best of her ability. Some pretty rough conditions, obviously, but what she's going to be doing is documenting that perishable evidence and start the investigation. We do have quite a contingent of folks that are headed to Alaska. Right now, the count is at 9 people, 9 different disciplines, anywhere from an investigator in charge that we're bringing out of our central region, 1 additional investigator. So we have quite a contingent headed to Nome at this point right now. So that's kind of where we are at this point. As the senator mentioned, our chair, Jennifer Hamady, is en route. She'll be here tomorrow afternoon, and we're going to see if we can possibly get her up to Nome as well. So that's where we are, and I'll take any questions at this point right now. One last thing, we are very much in the preliminary stages of this investigation, and we're just getting going on it at this point right now.
Thank you, Clint. If you can remain on the line, we'll take questions shortly here. We have one more speaker. I'd like to invite Bridie Trainer with Northtown Health Corporation to provide an update.
Thank you. On behalf of Northtown Health Corporation, LEADFIC, Behavioral Health Services, our hearts are with all of our communities, families, providers, responders across Alaska and beyond. We know how strong we are in tough times. DHS staff is available now from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and through the weekend on the third floor of the hospital for anyone from anywhere. We have a community sports circle in Nome tonight at LEADFIC from 6 to 8. We have very strong village-based counselors in each community to give support. Clinicians will continue providing support in Nome and traveling to each site. We'll be working to debrief with first responders as well. Folks can call LEADFIC at 907-443-3344 or after hours at 907-443-6411. There are many support lines available, like the Crisis Lifeline at 988. You can see community notices online and elsewhere for all the resources and contact information. Again, our communities are very strong, especially in tough times, and people are no stranger to hardship. We draw on the strength and wisdom of land, animals, spirit, ancestors, and each other to guide us through anything. We have all the resources we need to work through this or anything else, come out stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now take questions from reporters in the room and then online. If you're reporting with a question online, please put your name in the Zoom chat so that we may call upon you. We'll first start with the room. Any questions here in the room? Zach.
Zach Hughes, ABN. I'm curious, the staging area was out, the road was constructed or graded out to get there. If there are plans yet for beginning to move material off the ice for personnel out there from that point, or if they'll be leaving from town to access the crash site?
They'll be accessing it from air. It's a 15-minute flight exactly from the hangar to the site.
And will that be with helos?
With helicopters, yeah. That's the only way. And it's slushy young ice, so it's not stable.
Any other questions in the room before we move on?
Yeah, could you walk us through the recovery process? Where it goes on from here?
Well, right now we have guys out there detangling the mess and trying to get everything situated so we could bring folks home. We don't know how long that's going to take. Could go hours, could go potentially days. Our timeline right now is good with the weather, and coming up tomorrow, we have about 18 hours worth of potential recovery time. The other obstacle that we have is the guard cannot fly during night operations, so we'll have to wait. If we can't get everything done, we'll have to spool back up in the morning to continue on.
So what is your window of time? Because I understand there might be inclement weather coming in again.
It is according to the weather maps that we have. Yes, bad weather is coming. So we're working the fastest way and the safest way to get everyone home.
And we'll move to a question online. Hank, are you able to ask your question?
Yeah, hi. Excuse me. Any update as to the possible reason for the swift drop in elevation that the plane experienced, as previously mentioned in a previous press conference with the Coast Guard?
At this time, we only can assume, but that will be under investigation.
Does the NTSB have a response to Hank?
Yeah, so obviously that's going to be part of our investigation. The ADSB data that the airplane was transmitting back to the various ground transfer to ATC. We're going to be analyzing that data. We have the ability to be able to drill down into that data, and our vehicle recorder folks back in DC are able to give us a little bit better of an idea of the last moments of the flight. But again, that's part of the investigation, and we're just getting rolling on that right now.
Sarah with CNN, can you ask a question?
Yeah. Do you know if the search and rescue team is currently on the ice doing recovery mission?
They are on the ice as we speak.
Thank you.
Is there any further questions in the room or online? Hi, Roy.
Good afternoon. Is there any effort to consider putting floats on this plane? Because I just heard the ice conditions are dynamic, that if situations change, this may sink. So I don't know if there's a plan for that or a strategy to try to hang on to this thing if things change.
At this time, we're looking into that. Like you said, it's dynamic. The conditions out there are dynamic, and so we've got to do it safely and the fastest way we can.
So is there a plan to get the wreckage of the plane if weather holds?
At this time, yes, we're shooting. Hopefully, the Black Hawk will be able to sling the wreckage out. But there again, we want to remove everybody first before we do that. Try to anyway.
Thank you. Any further questions in the room or online? None online. Any closing statements? Otherwise, we'll close this press conference. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
And there you have it. Those were the some of the officials from the City of Nome discussing the latest on that tragic, fatal plane crash over in Northwest Alaska. Of course, we had Clint Johnson from the NTSB online, Mayor John Handland, Senator Lisa Murkowski was online, at least via phone. Bertie Traynor with the Norton Sound Health Corporation spoke about resources, and then Lieutenant Commander Michael Serlano from the U.S. Coast Guard District 17. And of course, the gentleman that you heard speaking toward the end, that was Jim West. He is the Nome Fire and Ambulance Chief. So we have the information that we saw presented. We will continue to follow this story as they go out and collect the wreckage and, of course, take care of the people that were inside the plane.